So we're going to be talking about the power of no, and I've got a couple questions for you.
Okay.
All right. First of all, do you start with the word no, like the insurance claims do, or do you start with the word why? I mean, what do you start with when you're trying? Because I
Yeah,
understand.
that's actually a really good question. No, I don't start with the word no. I start with the word why.
Do you?
Or actually, I start with the phrase "my." Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And so, what does that lead to?
Well, that often will lead to no. Um, because here's the truth: if you're not clear on what you want to do, you're saying yes to everything. And when something really good and important comes up, you don't have the capacity or the time to say yes. So you end up saying yes, but you never get around to doing it. I mean, too many of us are just way overcommitted.
Mhm.
And it may be we're overcommitted to ourselves or we're overcommitted to others. But when you get overcommitted because all you do is say yes, is you actually end up looking like a fraud because you're not getting things done when you say they're going to get done. And you might look like a fraud to others or you might look like a fraud to yourself. But the truth is, when you keep saying yes to everything, you're actually saying yes to nothing.
Have you ever said something? Have you ever said no to something and then figured out that was the wrong thing that you shouldn't have said no to?
Yeah. You know, I actually use three buckets. I use yes, which I say rarely. I say no, which I say a lot. And then every once in a while, when I can't decide, I'll say not yet. Now, there are times where I might have said no to something because at that particular time, it wasn't the right thing to see or to do. And later, I'll go back and revisit it and say, okay, now I have time to do that. And I probably shouldn't have said no in the first place. I probably should have said not yet. Or somebody presents me with information that I didn't have before, which will change my mind.
So you're not when once you're going to have a conversation with someone, because I'm going to
Yeah.
go back to the to that thing that you don't start with the word no. So you're having a conversation with somebody about an activity, because if you can't do this on everything, it can't be like, well, I mean, I can't do that on everything that I do, although there is some truth that is. But let's say on a project, is that you start with that question of why, but if it comes up 6 months later, the same question. Let's say it's do you want to have do you want to be an LLC? You go, why? You come up with the answer no. What you're saying is that you don't close your mind to the word yes forever based off of that decision. You always go back to the question of why before you say go to no.
If somebody says, yes, you should be an LLC, and here's why, I will consider your reasons
Mm-hmm.
and see if they make sense.
Right.
The one resource that we all have the same amount of is time. And people who are highly successful versus those who are not as successful is really, in many respects, how you spend your time. And if I'm saying yes to a bunch of stuff that don't lead me towards where I want to go in life, because I'm saying yes to everything, that means I'm not able to say yes to the right thing. So I either don't have the time to do it, the interest to do it, or the capacity to do it. If I'm saying no to most things that come across about people say, I think you should, let me give you an example. I'm a big fan of Don Miller in his story brand stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Don is in the middle of a launch right now with one of his courses. And I'm up to my eyeballs doing the Tribe course with Stu McLaren. And as much as I would like to participate in Don's course, I'm either going to have to drop what I'm doing with Stu's course
Uh-huh.
and go to Don's course or buy Don's course and waste my money and have it sit on a shelf.
Mm-hmm.
So, as much as I enjoy Don's stuff and I think it's useful, it's not a higher priority than doing Stu McLaren stuff. So, I'm saying no to Story Brand today. What I'm actually saying is not yet because it's on my list. I don't know if it's ever going to rise to a high enough level where I want to commit the time to that class. When I was in the vending business, I was the board chair for the New York State Vending Association for several years. And people would not show up to the meeting, and I would often say, well, people vote with their feet. And everyone in the room always would break up in hilarious laughter. I never could quite figure out why. But you can always tell what people value by how they spend their time.
Yeah. I agree.
And here's where it really comes into plain effect. If I'm saying yes to everything, I'm going to spend an awful lot of my time doing $10, $15, $20 per hour work.
Mhm.
And when I'm doing $10, $15, $20 per hour work, I know I'm not doing work that can pay me $500, $1,000, or even $5,000 per hour.
Mhm.
And every business owner in the world spends way too much time doing tactical stuff, which typically has a high end range of $40 per hour, and
Mhm.
almost no time doing strategic work, which has a high end range of $5,000 or maybe $10,000 per hour. And we might even sometimes think strategically, but thinking strategically is not acting strategically. And because I'm saying yes to all the tactical stuff I do and not finding a way not to do that, I don't have the time to act strategically in my business.